I was born actually in St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands. My father was also born there. And then at 3, we moved from St. Croix to Connecticut. My mom, like I said before, Jamaican woman. She went to college here in the States. She came here just to go to school. She went to Oakwood College in Alabama. I think in like the late 60s, 70s, just somewhere around there. And I don't know, she's probably the most selfless person I've ever met, and probably the most sincere and the most hardworking, which as a business person, very rare to find all of those characteristics in one person. One of the things she used to always say was, to whom much is given, much is expected. And just her concept of discipline and figuring out that my existence and my success wasn't contingent on a number of external factors, but contingent on what I did and how I viewed myself relative to not only everyone else, but how I viewed myself relative to people that seemingly shouldn't have the opportunities that I have. And she taught me to be disciplined academically. She taught me to be disciplined socially. She taught me to discipline my desires, which I still am working on. But yeah, she's definitely gets it. Elizabeth Chin's book called Purchasing Power, when you look at a book like that and you see the work that she did with kids in New Haven about consumer behavior and the things that they enjoyed, so much of who a lot of minorities are and so much of who underrepresented groups are is what they have. And my mom kind of took that and said, it doesn't matter, because after it's all gone, then what do you have? And so we sort of started there in terms of understanding spending and really the need for things, I guess. At Wesleyan, I sort of felt like, you know, having these desires to be incredibly wealthy was an awful thing. You know, it was sort of like, not that anyone particularly made me feel bad for it, but kind of this idea that, just this idea that you couldn't be socially conscious and financially affluent or successful. And so I kind of went to challenge that. I wanted to say, well, no, you can still, you know, save the things that you want to save and fight for the causes that you would fight for, but you need a means, and the means is going to be capital. And the only way you can get that capital is through working or inheriting it. And so I sort of took the two and I said, I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to transfer. I'm not going to, you know, run away. But I stuck with it in an environment that really wasn't conducive for it, as per se maybe like a Penn would have been, or, you know, a Babson. But I stuck with it. I went to Barney School of Business because they have a great insurance and finance program, and I knew I wanted to stay. At that point, I knew I wanted to stay in insurance, and so I went. Again, good environment, fun. But my issues there were that it didn't teach you how to run a business. It taught you how to be a good employee, and how to be maybe a more creative employee. But it didn't give you, I think, the entrepreneurial ambition that, I don't know, seeing a single mom go to work at 11 o'clock every night. The segment that I'm in is a high-risk, non-standard segment. So I'm not quoting, you know, single-family homes in Greenwich. We're quoting high-rises in New York. We're quoting construction projects in Chicago. So it gives us sort of a creativity to look and feel something new every day. And again, just the creativeness is coming up with a way to get it covered, talking to brokers, talking to markets, and doing, you know, the art of negotiation, sort of figuring out how to get the deal done. And I love that. The firm that I was with before probably thought, okay, here's this guy, he's about to have a kid, he's not going anywhere, he's locked in, this is great, you know, he's gonna be a lifer. And the extreme opposite happened. I started to reevaluate every aspect of my life. I started to reevaluate the decisions that I was making socially, corporately, personally, and I made a ton of changes. I cut a lot of people out, I cut a lot of things out, and I sort of focused and rezoned and figured out how I could effectively get to where I needed to do and do it so that by the time my son got here, I was on that path. No matter how successful I was, it wasn't going to be at the expense of being there. And so having my child kind of led me down that path. I realized that I was going to make money regardless. I was going to do fine, but I wasn't going to miss things. And as I worked at my for the prior firm, I started to miss things. I missed a family reunion. I missed doctor's appointments when my son's mother was pregnant. I missed things that I never thought I would ever miss. And then I just decided I wasn't going to do it anymore. And so I took a leap. I resigned from the firm, really didn't have a clear idea what I was going to do. And then I got called by a private equity firm and I was asked to start Hybrid Insurance Group.